Hello, business building warrior. Welcome to Silent Sales Machine Radio. We've got a great interview for you today. We'll jump over and listen to that in just a moment. I just wanted to let you know you're in for a real treat today. I love the fact that this community is served by a team of 60 successful students who have achieved at a high level and also gone on to say, yeah, I'll coach some others along the same journey that I've been on. I'll help them out. That's our coaching team, actually, if you didn't realize it. Sometimes I'm asked by listeners to this show or members of our community, how do I know when I'm ready for a coach? What's it look like to be ready versus not ready for a coach? Who's it perfect for? So let me just talk through that for just a moment. Then we'll get over into today's interview with a great coach on our team who's built a beautiful business from Australia, which is super cool. She doesn't sell in Australia, her and her husband, they actually sell in the United States. And she does a lot of our international coaching as well. But we'll talk more about that in a moment. Who is coaching for? Well, if you're ready to go further faster and you have the margin in your life to do so, we're here ready to help. What do I mean by margin? I mean the emotional, mental, relational, financial, and time margin required to go further faster. I'll give you an example of someone who doesn't have the margin. It's not hard to imagine. Maybe a busy single mom with a handful of kids, trying to homeschool, holding down 4 jobs, can barely make ends meet. She's got a couple $100 in the bank, and life is really hard right now. God bless you if that's you. Hope I didn't just describe anyone specific. I just made that up on the fly. But you've got to imagine that's not someone who has a lot of mental, emotional, even spiritual or relational or financial or time margin, excess space in their life. Well, what's the other side of the bell curve of that example? Well, how about someone who has a few $1,000s in the bank? They got an extra 10 or 15 hours of work a week that they could be working. Their spouse is fully on board with the idea of them experimenting with a new business concept. That's the relational margin I spoke of. They're in an emotionally, physically healthy place. They didn't have some serious health threat that kept them on their deathbed the past 6 months, and now they can barely think, and they're sustained by the love and support of their family. That guy doesn't have a lot of margin. Now, hopefully he'll get back there at some point, but you understand my point. Do you have the margin to go further, faster right now? If so, the stuff we teach here, we truly believe in, and we're getting results every day for our students, as you hear on the hundreds of podcast episodes. So for people who are ready to go further, faster, and who have the margin in their life, yeah, that's who coaching's for. Your experience level is irrelevant because we can start where you're at and we can move you further, faster than you would be able to go yourself. It's the same content, same ideas, same strategies. It's just you'll be working with the coach. And in this case, today we're going to talk to one of the great coaches on our team, along with 2 of the great coaching leaders on our team. A couple names you probably recognize if you've heard a few episodes around here. Brian and Robin Joy Olson are going to interview Kerry Hodge, and she lives in Australia. Her and her husband have been on the show before. It's been a while back, but they've built a beautiful business. And you heard me right the first time. They don't buy inventory in Australia and sell it in Australia on Amazon, because Amazon is in Australia. It's just really small. Very few people use it. What they do instead is they buy inventory in the United States and they sell it in the United States on Amazon without ever seeing it or touching it, as many of our international students do. We recently had another great guest on our show who's doing this from Slovakia, where no one's heard of Amazon for the most part, but he's buying and selling every day in the United States. And if people around the world can do it, here's my question for those of us who live in the US. Yeah, if they can do it, you certainly can, because they've got some additional challenges and disadvantages. They can't have the inventory shipped to their house. They can't get in their car and go to a local retail store and pull their replens off the store shelves as they need them. They have to manage all these things from a distant location. And thanks to prep centers, we have our prep center network, which is a free list of all known prep centers that we're aware of that will receive your inventory for you, slap your labels on it, send it into Amazon on your behalf. That's what Kerry and her husband use, is a prep center to receive their inventory, manages it all for them. So hands-free business from Australia, using the strategies taught in the Proven Amazon course. And if you're ready to get started, get over to provenamazoncourse.com. Let's go. Your experience level doesn't matter. The course can get you there if you need to go a little slower. if you're one of those people who lacks the margin in your life right now, and maybe you don't have a lot of financial margin, not a lot of time margin, but you got the mental capacity and you've got 10 hours or so per week that you can put into this business, you can definitely start chipping away at this thing. We typically say you need to have about $500 to $1,000 or so minimum to get into this, for the handful of tools you're going to need, the training you're going to need, and the inventory to get you started. 500 to 1,000 is about right. So you can get proof of concept, get your confidence, and get rolling. People with more money than that, if you have some time and you have some margin in your life, yeah, we can help you go further faster. If you'd like, call our team. There's a link at silentjimdotcom for our coaching, or you can just go straight to silentjim.com/book a call. Get on our calendar. We'd love to have a conversation with you about what we do around here and see if our offers, anything from our free offers to our coaching, makes sense to you. Let's talk about your e-commerce dreams and goals and see if we can be of help. All right, that's enough talking from me. Let's get over and hang out a little bit with Brian and Robin Joy Olson of Coach's Corner fame. They do about once or so a week around here, have a great episode. And today they're going to interview a great coach in our team, Kerry Hodge. Enjoy their discussion.
Welcome back to Silent Sales Machine Radio. We are your co-hosts. I'm Brian.
And I'm Robin Joy.
And this is Coach's Corner.
Hi, everybody.
Special episode today, joined by a very special guest, Kerry Hodge.
Yes.
Welcome to the show, Kerry.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So Kerry is a previous coaching client and has found a great level of success, built a beautiful business, and is now a coach on our team and has been for some time. And Kerry, I know you've been on the show before. And so why don't we just spend a couple of minutes maybe getting people caught up with
how you doing?
Yeah, how are things going?
What's going on?
Yeah. So my husband, Bo, and I, we started as students under you guys. You guys were our coaches. And that was back in 2021, I think. 2022. Yeah,
okay.
2022. So, yeah, we're based in Australia, if you can't tell by my accent. So we're based in Brisbane, Australia, so completely different time zones and all the works. But it was something that Bo stumbled across when we just had our second baby. So we've got two kids, they're 13 months apart. I was very busy,
Imagine why.
Babies. But it opened up the opportunity to, I guess, look for a different avenue before I returned to, work. So we wanted to, give this a go, dive in and see if we could make it work. Amazon is just not even a thing. It's beginning in Australia now, but yeah, it's leaps and bounds in the US. So it's pretty fascinating. Yeah. So we started that's how we started. And then it really just kicked off from there. So I think within the first 4 months of, signing up, doing coaching and everything, we were starting to get some decent sales. Our fourth month of sales, we actually hit 20K, which was very exciting.
Yep.
So yeah, but there was a lot of hours put into it, a lot of learnings, and along the way, as you guys know. So yeah.
Before we started hit the record button here, I was telling you that Robin Joy uses you as an example a lot of what it seems like overnight success, because if you were to show, posting your gold bars, it's probably like nothing, very little, a little bit more, and then 20,000, right? And so it looks like, wow, you just did it overnight. But there was a lot of work going on behind the scenes before that 20,000. Yeah.
Absolutely. A lot of behind the scenes work. And, I look at the ASINs that I used to purchase compared to the ASINs that I purchase now, and they're miles apart. I think when I was first sourcing, because everything is so different, I have to use a VPN. I have to, do all these things just to even access US websites. I didn't know US websites when I started. I found a lot of challenges. So if I found a match, I was like, oh my God, 10 drops a month. This is fantastic. Little did I know that I couldn't sell those products to save my life. But it's learnings, and I'm able to share that with my students as well, because I think you do get so excited at the start, just to find an ASIN, but there is certain criteria that, we do need to stick to. So, or it's advisable when you're starting out.
So that's a good point, Kerry. You mentioned you're in Australia, and so we in the U.S. consider things normal that are not necessarily normal to you. You have summer when we have winter. It's tomorrow for you right now. For us, it always blows my mind how you can talk to someone across the world on a different day. It blows my mind. But I mean, when you talk about learning to source for U.S. products, I always tell people, start with the sources that you already know, love, and trust. Well, those are not the sources that you know, love, and trust. So you've had to find your own way there. And so as a person who does not live in the U.S., that can be very helpful for others who are having those same challenges, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, I've learned a lot about sourcing along the way. It was very early on, possibly in the first couple of weeks of starting my journey, where I was like, no, I can't do it. I just don't know how to find products. So we actually started using tactical arbitrage. So that was kind of my first, it was the first software that we used, and that really helped to elevate my sourcing game. But now I've got extensions, popping up left, right, and center on every single page. And we love, trialing new products, supporting the community, and really developing and evolving our sourcing techniques as well. Yeah, it's been fantastic.
So it sounds like you've learned a lot in this time since we talked to you last.
Yeah.
So do you know exactly when you come to America, what products you're going to buy when you go, what stores you're going to go into and all that?
When you come for pleasure?
I would probably, what would I love to hit first? I don't know. I have been to the US before, so I had an idea of things like your Macy's. And I mean, we do have Sephora over here, but not like it is in the US. But Sephora is probably, and that's where I started sourcing back in, 2022 when we started. Sephora was all that I knew. One of the online stores that would take my credit card and my bank details and everything. So that's kind of, I'd probably do Sephora. Do it really good.
So you bring up an interesting topic, which is the legwork that you have to do when you're outside of the country in order to get set up to be able to purchase things from outside the country, in order to be able to send your products to somewhere that need to be prepped so they can get sent to the U.S. Amazon FBA fulfillment centers. What kind of pain points do you remember and challenges that you overcame during that initial startup phase?
Before you answer that, I just want to make clear to the listeners to understand that Kerry is sitting in Australia right now. That's where she lives, and she sells products on the US.com Amazon market. So that's what we're talking about, the difference there. So I just want to make sure that's clear to everybody. So now go answer the question.
I've never been able to touch anything as much as I, would love to. What we did when we first started is, as part of doing the coaching and everything, we also signed up for PAC, and Bo religiously went through those courses. The international course we followed to a T, and it made it so simple for us, opening up the relevant accounts to make things happen. And I see that with my students now. Some of them haven't taken that leap and opened up the US LLCs, but you really do find, especially in the starting stages, when you're starting to get to know websites and what will take your cards and what won't, to do as much as you can to open up the doors for online stores really helps to elevate your sourcing game, because you've got more opportunities out there as well. So when we started, obviously first thing to do is a prep center. We've had a few prep centers along the way. We're on to our third one, which has just changed. Communication is, it's one of the things that it has to happen along the way. So I can't touch any of the products as much as I would absolutely love to. I can't touch it. If something's returned, I don't get it. So, those kind of challenges do exist, and they can be a bit of a pitfall for the business, but you work it into your margins, and we make it according calculations for those kind of things, and do what we can. If the hustle is there and we can get some money back somehow, then so be it. So yeah, there are some challenges, but I think that's it's a bit of the excitement along the way. I've never dwelled on any of the challenges. If somebody doesn't take my order, that's fine. I move on. And I've even seen that recently with changing prep centres. Some stores didn't like that I had changed address. So they, blocked my accounts and everything. That's fine. Give it a rest. I'll come back to that. There's plenty more ASINs out there.
I
billion.
love
I think there's a billion.
A billion in the U.S. market. I don't know how many in Australia, but you're selling in the U.S., so you got plenty of room there. I think that's awesome. The ability to overcome challenges and just think your way through that. Let it go, come back to it, or deal with it as you have to. That's a skill that not all of us have built really well. And so I think you're a great example of that. You have gone through some very big challenges and obstacles that you've overcome. So we're great respect for that.
Thank you.
I said Robin uses you as an example, or uses your story a lot. And for the reason that I mentioned earlier, around, what was that reason? I already forgot it.
Because it looks like they did it overnight.
Yeah, it looks like that's right. You do it overnight. I use you as an example.
I just wiggle my nose.
Yeah. I use you as an example all the time too, because when I'm trying to explain the concept of building a book of business with a particular store or group of stores, the way you explained your business to me at one point really drove that point home. And you just touched on it here a minute ago too, around, that store didn't take my credit card, so I don't shop there. So you've got like this predefined almost set of places that you shop. And if it's not a deal in those places, then it's not a deal for you.
Yeah. And it took some work to put that together.
Yeah. So I've literally got, a list of stores that are a yes or a no. I will, let my team know if, one store isn't taking me today or whatever it is, then, we just have to move on. And things change all the time. Sometimes you might be blocked, but a month later things are looking good, or you're able to open another account. There's always ways around things, and you definitely get to learn and grow those things over time. It's something that I love to share with my students. If there's a hustle, I love to share it, because I think that's what this business is about. It's about pivoting at the right times, and you do have to have a bit of a hustle to keep up with things. We've definitely been thrown a few Amazon curveballs along the way, so we've had to hustle.
Speaking of pivot and hustle, I know you faced quite the challenge as you were just heading into Q4 last year, which kind of set you back a little bit. You want to share? Are you willing to share about that?
Yeah, so just prior to Q4 last year, so 2023, end of September, we got hit with Section 3. So our account was deactivated. And for us, it's a notification in the middle of the night. Yeah. So it's
that's right.
Early. Yeah. Everything's always done at nighttime for us. So we got the notification that our account was being deactivated. Absolutely no idea why. And at the time in September, it was quite new and, very unknown. So it was good to have a community that you could actually find people that were going through the same thing. Amazon definitely threw their curveballs and changed their criteria and changed their ASINs on me. But, after 10 and a half weeks of being deactivated, we managed forever. Yes, it was goodbye Black Friday sales and everything else. We had ramped ourselves up to have obviously our best Q4, but I think we received the email at the middle of December maybe. So, we still got some last minute Christmas shopping sales in there, but it really gave us an opportunity well, first of all, it gave me a bit of a break, but we did have to hustle because we had 2 VAs at the time. I just couldn't, I couldn't keep them both on. We had to, do what we could to look after them as well. But, we had to protect ourselves and our business and reflect on our business as well. And it was a great opportunity for me to, go into PAC and look at those courses that I haven't been able to do, the bundles course and all of those things, even refreshing on TA and whatever it might be. It was a great opportunity in hindsight. As much as I, would have loved to get that congratulations, your account's not deactivated. It was a great opportunity to actually learn and grow myself. And then, coming into 2024, we definitely had a different perspective. And even the ASINs that we purchase and just trying to pivot our criteria again. And that's something that I try and, teach or try and encourage my students to do is be quite fluid with your criteria as well, because, what you want one day is really not going to be what it is going to be in 12 months time or something, because you learn and you grow. And there's so much that you do actually learn as time goes on. So it was a blessing in disguise, as most challenges generally are.
Well, it's great that you were able to find the silver lining in that. Knowing how you were gearing up for Q4 last year, I'm sure you're anticipating doing the same thing this year. Yes. I couldn't be more excited for you guys. You probably came in with some renewed energy when you did get your account back, and you've been pivoting along the way as well. What's going to happen in your business this Q4?
So this year as a whole, we're really trying to knuckle down our numbers a bit better. It was great, although we couldn't go to the last conference. It was actually really good watching some of the other coaches and, speakers talk about their numbers. And being international, you don't get that, face to face with everyone. You don't get to talk shop as much as, some of you other guys get to do. So it's a great learning for us to actually, know where numbers realistically are. I remember, when we started, we wanted an ROI of nothing less than 40% and all of that. And realistically, it's probably not, it's not like that, but it's a numbers game. And, the more you can actually, do that hustle. So we're looking at developing our wholesale side of things. We want to jump into bundles as well. We've done a lot of training with our VAs, with our team, just to try and upskill them as well. I love, using all the new sourcing techniques and everything. So being able to share that with students is definitely very exciting as well. But hopefully this Q4 goes a lot better and more sustainable. We're wanting a more sustainable business, as an outlook now.
Great. Now, are you guys selling on the .au? Is it .au?
Yeah, yes, it is. .com.au. Not at all. No. No. And when I tell people what I do, they're like, huh? Like,
I bet.
So they're like, what do you sell? I'm like, a lot of different things. So hundreds of different things. Yeah, not at all. It's just not where it needs to be. I don't think Keeper's compatible with the Australian Amazon or anything. So no.
So more to come on that. Hopefully you guys can help us blaze a trail when that's
I know
viable.
It would be exciting.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, so you are a coach in the Jim Cockrum coaching, and you're actually on our team. And we are very proud of you. We think you're doing a heck of a job.
Thank you.
You are taking new coaching clients, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm open to new coaching. Love getting, international students because there are more challenges, and hopefully I understand and get most of them. But I have a strong passion for helping newbies, especially because it is quite daunting at the beginning. And I was there, I put my hands up and said, I can't do it. I need to have Arbitrage within weeks. So I get it. And I hope that I'm relatable for a lot of it. So absolutely. New students
Good.
are more than welcome.
So you mentioned earlier that you've got a team and you're not doing all of this on your own. I don't know what that looks like post the Section 3 thing, but what does a normal week look like for you as it relates to your Amazon business?
So I've been able to upskill my virtual assistants to take on more of the admin. So they will help me with all my invoices, bank accounts, and all of that. So everything's aligning. So if Section 3 happened again, I would confidently be able to not spend my entire weekend, getting together every single invoice. But typically, my day, I start my day on a Tuesday because I've still got little ones at home. So I'm typically on a Tuesday just opening up, I jump straight in and just do a ton of shopping. So today's Wednesday for me. So yesterday was just a replens day for me. So it's just all about, what's sold over the weekend. Let's get it all back in. But I always have a goal to at least find 5 new ASINs per day. So it's fun, thanks, guys. Sometimes that doesn't happen, but it's a goal. And, I have spend goals for the week as well that I like to hit as well. So it's kind of a little collective thing, spend goals, even unit goals as well, just because you really do need to keep feeding it. And, I see that so often because I like to probably stay on the conservative side of things because if something was to go wrong, I can't get the product. So I can't really sell it, successfully on eBay like a lot of people can. So I can't go big and hard. I like to test small. I like to look like a shopper. So my day is just testing, replanning, and finding all those good things out. Yeah.
Okay. So you bring up an interesting point around the death pile. Like we hear people talk about the death pile all the time. You don't have one. But what do you do about those situations?
So explain what that is.
Yeah. So the death pile is like, oh, I got this back. I can't sell it. Or a customer returned it and they said it was damaged, but it's brand new.
And
or
in your basement and
or maybe it is partially used or whatever, but you've got all this product basically in your basement or your garage that you are either selling in a yard sale or on eBay or on Mercari or Facebook Marketplace, but that doesn't work for you. How do you deal with it?
What do you do?
So we have enlisted or we've outsourced people to run our eBay before. We're just in the process because we've recently changed prep centers and we're trying to put something new in place at the moment. So unfortunately, I don't get to touch anything. Some things I've discarded, like, if it's returned and it's makeup, chances are it's been used and that's fine. Like, it is what it is. Prep Center's been really good. If something is returned and it is brand new, spanking new still, they'll let me know and, we'll decide what we need to do from there. But it's just a lot of communication and it's a challenge. It's probably, that side of the business, it's where the margins more than, someone that isn't international, but it's part of it. So, yeah.
What I love about your answers, Kerry, to almost everything is you're not trying to make it something that it's not. You're dealing with what it is and taking it and making it what the best of what it is can be. So I think that can be really encouraging to people who run into challenges and they have things that maybe are not the same as what the most people run into. And just to hear you say that you deal with it, you find a way, you decide what to do with it and move on, you keep moving. That's really inspiring to me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thanks. Test more ASINs.
That's right.
Hey, now she's
find more ASINs.
So what do you do when you're having a tough day, Kerry? What do you do about that? Yeah. I think that's the answer to everything. Of course, everybody knows I think that's the answer to everything. Everything's an ASIN to me. It's just the way our communication goes in our house.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, if anybody is relating to this that's listening and you are really relating to what Kerry's talking about, call the coaching office, ask for Kerry to be your coach, and we'll see what we can do to work that out.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good.
Love working with Kerry and Bo. I don't get to see Bo as much. I don't get to see you that frequently either, but we do have quarterly calls with everyone. And so it is good to catch up. And we still have some sessions from time to time, right?
Yep.
Like once you're kind of in the community, you're always in the community and you have access to folks. So it's a great place to be.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You guys have been, at the forefront of everything big that we've made in our decisions, and we're forever grateful. And it is, it's a learning, it's a growing, but it's a great community to be a part of. And we're very thankful as well. So thank you.
Well, there was one other thing I wanted to touch on since you brought it up. As an international seller, you are only working with a prep center. You've said that you said that you're on your third one now. And maybe there may have been more in there, I don't know, that you at least evaluated and ultimately didn't go with. But for someone who is considering using a prep center because either they don't want to touch the product or they are international, what sort of things, what sort of tips could you provide around what they should be looking for?
Good question. So, it was actually good for us having to find our third prep center. We actually found two at the same time. But there was one big difference between both of them, and it was the size of them. So for me personally, I actually liked the smaller prep center. Communication was better. Mm-hmm. Pricing wise was the same. And, obviously that's a big thing, especially when you're international. You need to look at your numbers for absolutely everything. Pricing was better, but communication was really good. Time frame. So I get numerous shipments out per week, which is really good. Right. But also my orders aren't cancelled as often. So there was another little prep center in there for a while, quite a big one. And my orders for a lot of my replens were being cancelled. And I was like, I don't have another way around this. Like if I can't get my replens in, I have to find something else. So within a week, we'd found the one that we're in with now. Smooth sailing. And you've just got to ask those questions, how often do you do your shipments? What's your communication like? All of those things. And, be open and honest. If you don't know about the way that things are prepped or you want to know more, I'm sure any prep center will give you, or they should give you that, that feedback as well. So it's really communication. Absolutely.
And then a test. You got to test them out before you, right? Like
build that relationship.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I did, testing a big one compared to a small one. And, they're small. And I shouldn't say they're small because, everyone's fantastic and, it can just be a warehouse size is, limits. But definitely, having less restrictions on my orders being cancelled makes it a lot easier.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, we sure appreciate you coming on and sharing from your heart and being, obviously representing as a great leader in this community, but wanting to see if there's anything else on your mind. Like we're open, like before we hit the record button, we're like, let's just have a conversation. Yeah. Was there anything that is on your mind we haven't covered?
I don't think so. I'd probably just say maybe for new students out there, or, if someone's wanting to jump into coaching, it is a fantastic opportunity. And for me as a coach, I feel like, I love helping people when they're new, but I also love the opportunity that they can get, have a session with Robin, have a session with Brian, which, majority of people think, oh my God, really? Little celebrities in the community. But I think everyone, we can always benefit from somebody else's perspective. Everyone's had different experiences. Everybody sources differently. So it is about, asking myself. I'm not going to claim that I know everything because I probably don't. Numbers isn't my strong suit. Bo's the numbers guy, so I just love shopping. So we work.
What
really
a great business!
But it is about pivoting on the challenging times, asking for help, and especially for coaching students as well. Always an email away, and you've got that community there's a great community that's been built and a lot of great knowledge within it. So I think use it. It's there.
Yeah.
You got to use it.
I agree. I think that's a great point. Might be one of the things that makes the Jim Cockram coaching program different than others, is that there's so much support in the community.
Mm-hmm.
And other things that feed into that. It's not just coaching by itself. There's so much more to it than that. So that's a good point. Thank you.
Yeah, sometimes I'll see like a Facebook post and I'll say to Bo, "Oh, did you see such and such's post?" And like I know, this person, and no,
exactly.
no idea who I am. But I'm just like, they're so active on the community, so I feel like I know them. So yeah, it's fantastic. So thank you guys.
I love the main, theme of our talk today, which is like there's a way out or through or over or around everything, right?
Yeah.
And you've faced some really tough challenges in your business, whether it was the Section 3 challenge and 10 and a half weeks of being shut down, multiple prep centers, the VA situation where you feel like, these people are working for you and you don't want to lay them off or let them go. And so there's a lot of responsibility that comes along with that. And yet you've persevered through all of that. I just love the message.
Yeah, me too.
You.
I think it's inspiring.
Thanks, guys.
We sure enjoy working with you, and
Yeah.
you've just been a blessing to us.
Mm-hmm.
Just having a relationship with you is the best, and you're a great addition to our coaching team. You're definitely one of the stars, so we appreciate you very, very much.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Well, you took our line earlier. We sure appreciate you coming on. But when things get tough, I mean, were you sourcing during the Section 3? When you were activated? No,
I wasn't. I was, unfortunately, we'd signed up to a Q4 leads list.
Okay.
Just prior as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I was sorting through things.
Got it. Okay.
I was building my own leads list and kind of sorting through that. But I did take the time to learn. It was more a learning and a bit of me time.
Okay.
That's great.
Great. Well, how do you solve those problems?
Test more ASINs.
Test more ASINs. Kerry, thanks for coming on the show. Well, we're going to go test more ASINs.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Hey, before we let you go, we've got a special segment that we do around here once per week with our good friend Jeff Schick from jeffschick.com. That link will be in the show notes for you. Jeff is a legal and policy expert for all things Amazon, Walmart, and other e-commerce platforms. And we are lucky to have him here each week to give us a piece of information and a story a lot of times about what's going on in the account health and legal world. So Jeff, thanks for being here. And what do you got for us this week?
All right, so here's an interesting one. It's the Too Good to Be True series. So over the last couple of months, we've seen a lot of cases of sellers, unfortunately, being taken advantage of. And so it really goes back to that old phrase, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. So I want to talk briefly about one thing we're seeing kind of a disturbing trend of, which is automation scams. So there's a lot of people that are coming into this Amazon world preying on basically like regular Americans that don't understand e-commerce, and they're making these fancy websites. They talk about automation, invest in our AI-driven approach to Amazon, all this sort of stuff. It's all fake. It's not real, but they make it seem really good. And so, interestingly enough, I actually talked to a seller. He's had me on retainer for about 18 months. We talked one time in 18 months. He never even opened up an Amazon seller account. He just was interested in the Amazon space. So he wanted to have a lawyer on retainer in case he ever got into it. And he wanted to be able to bounce questions off whenever he did. So he had us on retainer for 18 months. He scheduled a 30-minute call to talk about this company that he was about to invest in. And they were looking for a $30,000 investment, and they were going to manage his store for him. And they were going to help him create an Amazon account. And he was going to become rich off of this scam. But, we later determined what was a scam. So we started looking at it with him. Everything they described was that they were going to be buying products from Walmart and drop shipping them to customers when orders came in. Now, anyone who's a veteran seller knows that retail drop shipping on Amazon is not allowed and that it's a very short-lived strategy. But for this seller or this client of ours who didn't know who didn't know Amazon terms of service and is not really well integrated into the different e-commerce communities, he thought it sounded like a great business model. And so he was ready to pull the trigger. And suddenly, as he said, he was driving, he was from South Florida, and he was driving down the Florida Turnpike, and he saw our exit where he remembered that we had our office, and he goes, you know what, I need to call that Jeff guy and just run this by him before I plunk down $30,000. So it turned out it was a total scam. We looked up, one of the things I did for due diligence is I said, tell me who these people are that are behind it. And I was Googling their names, and we had no mutual friends on Facebook, which is always a huge red flag, because if you're allegedly making 9 figures a year on Amazon, there's a chance that we have at least one person in common, and this guy, we had 0. So you don't get to being allegedly $100 million a year seller with no connections at all with anybody. It just doesn't happen this day and age. So it did end up, it was a scam. And they were just churning out, fake stores. And when people got burned, they would disappear and rebrand. And that's what the scam was. But it just goes to show, if it's too good to be true, don't just fall for it just because they have fancy marketing.
Absolutely. Yeah. One thing that Jim always says on the podcast and, outside of the podcast is whenever you're looking at different opportunities, whether it's course creators or anything like that, look for a free community that they have access to that you can go and, kind of communicate with other people that they're working with. Make sure that they're legitimate and, see how helpful they are in their free community. And if it's just promotions, or if they're the only ones putting out screenshots from sellers or sales on Amazon, why isn't this coming from their direct community? These are red flags to watch out for, that you need to make sure that you understand the community, understand the people, and really just looking at, does this opportunity seem to be too good to be true, as we started with, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. So there's that. Along the same too good to be true is sourcing. So we had a seller that unfortunately recently got caught up in the Section 3 supply chain verifications. What they were being verified for was a cosmetic product. Now, I'm not a huge seller in cosmetics. I've never sold any, actually. I've only sold pet shampoo. So I don't know anything about the cosmetic space. But Leah on our team knows a ton about cosmetics, both as a personal consumer of them and as a seller of them. So it was kind of funny because we got this invoice in, and the very first thing she said when she saw the invoice is, "This is fake." And I was like, "How do you know that?" She's like, "Because I just bought that last week at Macy's for 3 times the price." There's no way that he was getting this cosmetic for this cheap. Mm-hmm. And so we started doing some due diligence into it. Turned out that he had bought $50,000 worth of this, high-end luxury brand of cosmetics from a company that was using a Chinese bank account, and he had wired them the money in China. It had shipped from China to the United States, and it was all fake. Mm-hmm. Now, unfortunately for him, Amazon then supply chain audited it because of the red flags that their systems detected. Mm-hmm. He provided these invoices and he was shut down. I'd like to say that every case has a happy ending. I guess in this case, the happy ending is that the American consumer was saved because Amazon's systems worked as designed. Unfortunately, the seller, paid the price for something that was too good to be true. Whereas, if they had done their due diligence, had looked at the red flags instead of just ignoring them, like for instance, you should never wire money to China. You should never, for OA and RA goods at least, mm-hmm. You should never be buying from wholesalers that claim to be in China or Asia or overseas. Wholesalers should be in the United States you're buying from. You should be sending money to banks in the United States. All these sort of things. And if you overlook the red flags, then unfortunately, the systems generally will catch up with it at some point mm-hmm. with Amazon.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned that. So with this client, if they had just reached out to you prior and said, "Hey, can you verify this off? This opportunity," you would have done that as part of your services and found it out early.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We do that all the time for people. I'd say several times a week, we get on the phone with sellers and we're vetting either stores that they found online, like OA sites, or wholesale companies or products themselves, and saying, "Hey, these are the risks associated with it." So it's absolutely something we would have caught and we would have been able to help them through. But unfortunately, they came to us after they'd already been supply chain verified by Amazon. And at that point, it was too late.
Yeah. No, a question, since we've talked about some of the, automation scams and some of the things with, the too good to be true overseas suppliers. What about opportunities where it seems like a company has connections to legitimate brands and they're able to buy those and wholesale them, but they're selling them just direct to a bunch of Amazon sellers? What are your thoughts on some of those things? I've seen more of that over the recent years and months. What are your thoughts on those?
So my thoughts on those is generally that those are kind of on that too good to be true category as well. So as someone, all I ever did was wholesale. So that was, I have a lot of experience in that space. I can say firsthand that while it is hard to get your first wholesale account, once you get your wholesale accounts, it becomes increasingly easier because you build up a track record, especially if you place, if you build personal connections. Like I used to go to the different pet expos, and I would show up and I'd, go and see like one of the main people I was buying from. His name was Vincent. And when I'd go see him, he would always be like, "Hey, Jeff, good to see you again. Thanks for buying $1 million worth of shampoo from us last year. I want you to meet my good friend, so-and-so." And then they'd take me to the next booth, for a competitor of theirs. And he'd be like, "Jeff has, been selling our stuff on Amazon. He can sell your stuff too." And then lo and behold, that's how you start building up those connections. That all is being said is because I think for sellers, if you invest your time in those sort of relationships and building your own brand direct deals, it's ultimately going to be much more sustainable and it's much safer for you long term than buying from these other wholesalers. The reason being too is that, like, for instance, when you're buying from any of these wholesalers that are other sellers, they've already picked through all the good stuff. So they're generally not going to be selling you the flagship ASINs. They're going to sell you whatever doesn't sell well because they have their own seller accounts that they're selling the good stuff on. So you're already at a disadvantage there. The second thing about it is that they, I'd say 97% of the time, they don't have manufacturer authorization to resell these goods. So they're buying them on the gray market, maybe they're buying it from a legitimate distributor or from the brand direct, but they don't have authority to be reselling to sellers. So now we've got an issue there that comes up. And a lot of them don't want to provide their invoices. Now, here's the problem. If you get supply chain verified and you're buying from, say you're buying from me, like I used to sell, our company was called Pet Shampoo, and we used to have a seller that would buy from us on our website. She was an OA seller, and she would place orders every week on our website to buy pet shampoo. And then she was reselling it on Amazon. Well, if she had gotten supply chain verified by Amazon, they wouldn't have known who Pet Shampoo was because they would have just been like, well, that's just some random website created by some dude in Georgia. Like that's all all they're going to know at the time. So they wouldn't have passed it as a verifiable source. And so she would have come to me and said, "Hey, I need your supplier's invoice." Well, I never communicated with her saying that she could buy stuff from me. She was just found me, I guess, on TA and was buying from my site. I don't know that I would have given her an unredacted invoice from my lead supplier that had all my pricing and account information on it and promotion information on it, just because she was having an issue with Amazon. And that's the same logic that a lot of these wholesale companies employ as well, where they're like, "We're not going to give you our invoice because we don't want you to have that proprietary information." So then sellers are left, with Amazon saying you bought from a bad source, and they have no way to prove it going forward that it wasn't bad.
Yeah. So I guess one of the red flags would be, you can buy wholesale from legitimate distributors, but if that distributor is advertising that, "Hey, we sell to Amazon sellers," then that could be a red flag. It's not 100%, but I assume it's a high likelihood.
It is a high likelihood. In fact, like I tell people, like ASD is probably the worst show to go to now because it's just a complete pay to play scheme. Okay. So like all the speakers that are up on stage have all paid money to be there. So they're not like if they're talking about this is what, to look for in a wholesale company, but they've paid $15,000 to be up there and they run a wholesale company, like how useful is that information? Probably not very useful. It's very biased. And similarly, like anyone that buys floor space to put a booth in can have a booth. So you have all these basically fake wholesalers showing up saying we're wholesalers, we buy direct from the brand, and making it seem like they are brand authorized to be doing what they're doing, and they're really not. And so,
wow. Well, I guess Yeah, it sounds like then the lesson here is just what we started with. If it sounds too good to be true, then maybe avoid it, and definitely reach out to Jeff. If you're using him as a retainer, because he can help kind of vet some of those opportunities before you get into a bad spot. So
You got it. Absolutely.
yeah, Jeff, thanks so much for being here today. Looking forward to seeing you next week. Have a good one.
You too. Thank you.